Hey, folks, welcome to the Accessible Hunter podcast. I'm Greg Trainer along with my partner, Mike Hudson. And today we got a really great podcast. We got Representative Mandy Steele from Allegheny County here in Pennsylvania. And we got Dan Sneath from Hunter Nation joining us. And we're going to talk about the law that got changed here in Pennsylvania to enable us to Sunday hunt. But first, Mike, what's going on in South Carolina, brother?
Man, we're just getting ready for fall. It's jumped in full steam here. I'm hunkered down, looking like I'm ready for the polar vortex. But man, in the south, it's 37 this morning, and we've been getting rain steady. Hadn't had rain in almost a month, but this is 3 days in a row, and so as a quad, man, it's a little chilly for me, and I'm hunkered down, ready to go.
You got it, brother. I'd be wearing my hat too, but my wife's at the office and I can't reach it, so I'm going to have to be a little cold here. But Representative Steele and Dan, thank you both so much for coming on the podcast and everything you've been doing for sportsmen and conservation, getting these bills passed. Representative Steele, thank you so much. Would you like to introduce yourself a little bit to the people that might not be familiar with you?
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you both so much for having me on. I'm excited to do this podcast with you guys and with my good friend Dan Sneath from Hunter Nation. I didn't grow up in a family of hunters. I don't have that in my background at all, but I am a mother of four kids, and I'm someone that spends a lot of time outside. And after I had kids, my eyes became open to this connection that they were missing between themselves and their food and the land. And so
Yeah.
I started to kind of look into the hunting culture and the hunting way of life. And then I learned about all the incredible things that are there for families and for kids. And additionally, I learned about the conservation piece. This that is something that I feel very excited to talk about whenever I get the chance, which is that American hunters have been responsible for some of the largest conservation efforts that we have ever seen. And that is something that we need to be amplifying and shouting
Yes.
from the rooftops. Hunting dollars and the hunting way of life has done extraordinary good in this country. And so I've been really proud to kind of discover this as an adult woman in my 40s, and make so many great friends along the way. My kids and I love to hunt very
Yeah.
much. And we got to go out on the first Sunday in Pennsylvania for squirrels, which was really, really cool.
Dan, your background is a Pennsylvania state trooper, and did you grow up in Pennsylvania hunting as well, or did you come to it later in life?
Oh no. I'm from Pennsylvania. I've been a hunter my entire life. I'm born and raised on a small family farm. When Representative Steele, if I slip up and start calling her Mandy, it is truly because over the last 2 years or so, we've become pretty decent friends. So we're just sitting down in Mandy's office on Tuesday talking about a few things. A group called Hush, Hunters United for Sunday Hunting, awarded Mandy the Legislator of the Year award for their organization, and I lined that up for him because I've worked with them a little bit over the last year or two on the Sunday hunting. We were talking about some of the stuff that Representative Steele sees and has worked on, and sees as being these generation of the 30 and 40-year olds who are now realizing that they don't have that connection to the land like
Hmm.
I was brought up with. And I was joking with her and said, everything that you're seeing is my life that I was raised. I
Hmm.
was
Right.
raised on a small family farm where we had a potato field. We're planted potatoes every year. We had a garden. Graham and my mom and my aunts, they all canned vegetables or all the time. Everything was from the land. We went hunting, not that we didn't have food because we raised Black Angus cattle, so we always had steaks around and sausage around from the pigs that Pap raised and whatnot. But yeah, I was born and raised hunting and fishing. My father's retired from the Pennsylvania Game Commission. He was actually a regional director in the North Central and the South Central. Hunting and fishing, the outdoors have been my life since I was a little boy. And I love it. The fact that now we can Sunday hunt and the work that Representative Steele did on this. And whenever I spoke at the governor's bill signing, I echoed the words from Representative Ed Nielsen on the floor of the House that it took two ladies from Allegheny County, Representative Steele and Representative Kulik, to get us Sunday hunting here in Pennsylvania. And after, well, it's been in what Mandy? We said it was pre-Civil War. The ban
Yeah.
went into effect, according to the governor in his research. But this modern movement to get Sunday hunting removed has been going on for 50 years. And those two ladies got it done, along
Yes,
with
sir.
Senator Laughlin from up in Erie, who's been pushing this for his tenure as a legislator in Pennsylvania, whether he was in the House and then over to the Senate, along with Senator Brewster from out your way, Allegheny County again, right? Right, Mandy? So
Yeah.
great stuff. Love it. And I'm proud to be able to work with people like Mandy and all the legislators I've met to try and get hunting better in Pennsylvania.
Dan, you said a mouthful there. I grew up in Pennsylvania and southwestern PA, and I started hunting at the age of 12. And we're just so fortunate to live in Pennsylvania and have the state game lands and have conservation be brought up to us at a very young age.
Right.
And I started following Representative Steele last year when she was pushing for the Sunday hunting. And I just so appreciate what you did. And I don't even know if you realize this or not, but people with disabilities and older people, when we talk about retention and hunter numbers, I need so much assistance to get out. My wife usually helps me, my brother, that type of thing. But before Sunday hunting, I was asking somebody to give up their Saturday to take me hunting to get me into the woods. And you just doubled my hunting season with opening up Sundays. And I just want to, thank you as a person with a disability that you doubled my season.
Oh, that's awesome, Greg. Darn it, that makes me feel good. Maybe makes me get a little teary-eyed too. That's so cool. And man, I just feel so darn fortunate because I hear really great stories like this all the time. People stop me on this issue more than any other issue. And it feels good because now is a time where so many people are pulled apart and they're having a hard time finding common ground. And this is an area of common ground for us. And it's an area that should be connecting people across party lines, people from all kinds of backgrounds, from all kinds of places. And it does. And I just feel so proud to be a strong voice for the hunting community and conservation advocates in this state. It's been really neat and really moving and has kind of changed my life in a positive way. And like I mentioned earlier, I've picked up some great friends that I would not have met otherwise, like Dan. Dan and I have become close over the years, and our backgrounds are so different, but we have so much in common. And it's just, I mean, to be political for 1 second, it's more important than ever that we look for areas of common ground and focus on those areas.
Yes, ma'am.
You guys said a whole lot. Conservation goes into every avenue of what we try to do. For those people that are non-hunters that kind of follow us, conservation goes into everything that we're trying to do. Your hunters and fishermen, they're the ones that spend more time out there taking care of the animals that we're trying to harvest. And it's not just about blindly going out and just making shots on animals. We know what they're eating. We know how the property coincides. We're looking at ways to better the animal herds. And you guys are doing something phenomenal up in PA. And it's an opportunity where we've had other people on the podcast where it's, hunters sharing the harvest. And it's, about being able to bring food to table, but also filling a gap where we can see more and more people being able to help others. And that is phenomenal.
Yeah. There's one other piece of all of this that I wanted to mention, which is that I think there's a mental health component here that we should be talking about because we see that there are mental health issues now in this country more and more, especially with kids. And part of that is, exposure to social media and, and all the negatives that come with that. But a big part of it is just that disconnection from the land. We are human beings. That's a core part of our makeup. And I feel there's a real grounding and a balance that's achieved when you sit in the woods with a kid and you're quiet and you watch how the squirrels move and you watch the way where paths are cut through the forest floor and you're quiet and you're respectful and you teach them to hunt in an ethical, responsible way. Wow, that's a powerful force in a kid's life.
It really is. And as a person with a disability, I can tell you how important it is for Mike and I to be able to get out and enjoy the outdoors and have that time with friends and family and to be able to do it just like everybody else. It's not about always filling the tag. I mean, that's important, but the time we spend with our family, the conversations that we have in those quiet moments, Representative Steele, that's what hunting is about to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, disconnecting from social media and all the components that we have right now and kind of slowing down. It gets back to what Dan was saying. If you don't have a connection where, you know, your grandfather, grandmother, or somebody showed it to you, now we've got a new way of new hunters and fishermen coming alongside us. And it's about showing them, you don't want to say a simpler way of life, but showing them that messages can be made and relationships formed, and being able to share that time and building relationships in the woods, in the wilds, in real time, and just disconnecting from all the crazy of life.
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy right now. I have to tell you, I've got a bill unrelated to hunting, but it's important to me. It's a bill that would kind of it's a phone-free schools bills, because what's
Okay.
happening is kids have access to these smartphones even when they're in school all
Right.
day. That is nuts. They can't get away from it. They can't get a dang break from these things. So the bill would require school districts to have a policy for phone-free schools, and I'm excited about that. It's moving along. Has a lot of support on both sides of the aisle. Again, this is an area of real common ground.
To be able to get off social media, you know, for a few hours a day, especially while you're trying to get an education and be, you know, distraction free, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
We probably need a lot less screens in our life.
Yes.
It's ironic, you know, we're all looking at a screen
Yeah.
and trying to get the word out on social media, but it's true. You know, we have to limit our screen time just for our own mental health.
Yeah.
I think it's so important. And Representative Steele, I know you're working on another bill that I was really kind of curious about. It's purchasing state game lands. You know, here in PA, we have access to some wonderful, wonderful state game lands, and I think you're trying to get the cost increased that we can allow the Game Commission to purchase more land, with the market values going up so high on property around here.
Yeah, that's right. It's a bill I'm very, very excited about. And Dan and I are kind of tag teaming it to get this moving. And in fact, it's going to hit the floor next time we're in session. So that's in about mid-November. It will run through the House, and I expect a lot of robust support on both sides of the aisle. So the bill essentially, you know, the way that things work in Pennsylvania is that the Game Commission can only pay a certain amount of money per acre. And
Right.
so that the Game Commission, the Pennsylvania Game Commission, in my opinion, is one of the best in the entire country. No shade on South Carolina. I'm sure you've got a fabulous commission there too, but
We'll
ours is
take it.
strong.
Yeah, we'll take
Ours
it.
is strong. It's healthy. They've made good, sound financial and they've been real good stewards of their financial situation over time, and they've made smart, strategic land decisions pertaining to land. And but because of that cap per acre, what's happened really is that most of the state game lands are concentrated in the northern tier. So for people, you know, like me, who have maybe only a Sunday free or a Saturday free, that's, you know, a pretty big time commitment to go all the way north. And if we are truly intending to get more people outside and connected to this great way of life, we've got to make it easier. And so how do we do that? Well, we need more game lands throughout the state in Southwest and Southeast Pennsylvania. So this would lift that cap on the price per acre. So the Game Commission can really get into these areas that are, you know, where the price per acre is higher and acquire some more land. And they're committed to that as one of their top priorities. They want to provide more access to people. So they're on board, and kind of all the right people are on board. We ran this through the State Game and Fisheries Committee in the House, and it came out of committee with a unanimous vote. So I'm proud of that, and I can't wait for it to hit the floor. I think we're going to have a lot of success.
If I may jump in on that also.
Please do.
What was it? 3 weeks ago, Mandy, maybe I testified in front of the Senate Game and Fisheries Committee
That's right.
about this very subject. And I was asked, you know, do you have any ideas on how the Game Commission could purchase more land? And I brought up Representative Steele's bill, and it was a great discussion about that bill. And that was with some of the senators from the northern tier who have concerns about the Game Commission purchasing more lands that take away from their tax base up in the northern tier. But they were very, very interested in and supportive of trying to buy lands in those areas that Representative Steele's talking about, or southeast and or southwest,
Right.
where we have those population densities. I've talked to people from, especially in the southeast, where there's very limited amounts of state game lands or state forest even.
Mhm.
And because of the state parks limiting Sunday hunting this year to the original 3 that we had, those guys, just the Sunday hunting really isn't even helping them out because they don't have state forest or state game lands. So as Representative Steele said, they're looking at driving an hour, hour and a half just to go somewhere to hunt. So if we can get that changed so that the Game Commission can buy game lands down there, again, not shade on the state parks. They're doing what they have to do for what their objectives are. But if we could get more state game lands in those areas, it helps that opportunity for people in the more populated areas of the state. And I wanted to throw this out too. Back on the previous conversation with you guys and your disabilities, that was something that I hadn't thought about in the prior legislation for Sunday hunting. It came up to me in January, and I wish I had known you guys back then to talk to you guys and to get information from you guys, but I got it from other sources about the fact that people with disabilities, not just kids, but people with disabilities, how much you guys actually rely on somebody like me, a relatively healthy man,
Right.
to take you guys out to go hunting,
100%.
And because it was only Saturday and then Monday, well, now I have to, take off work. And not saying people wouldn't do that, but that was a lot to ask from somebody.
Sure.
Well, now we have the whole weekend to take somebody out if somebody wants to go hunting who has a disability. And I have friends with disabilities, and they come to my house, my property here, my house, and I drive them out and put them in a blind. It's great. So I hadn't even thought about that until this year.
Right. And now the missing piece is that we just need more access too. So people who are
Right.
down in these areas and are limited. Now you're going to have more time and you're going to have more opportunity.
Exactly.
And-
Exactly.
And
So it's all big pyramid to try and get more people, more access, and more opportunity. The more we can do as far as providing access, and the more we can do as providing opportunities, the more people we can hopefully recruit into our ranks as hunters.
Yeah.
Dan, you mentioned the exact word recruitment, but we also want to retain. Our hunting population is aging out. I'm 58, you're 58. We've been hunting all of our lives, but we're going to need people to continue to take us out hunting as we get older. It's not just take a child out hunting. Hey, it's take grandpap, it's take pappy out hunting and help them get to the blind, help them process their deer. And if we have access to new state game lands where they don't have to travel 3.5 hours, because maybe we're not as young as we used to be, if they can hunt a little closer to home and have somebody take them onto a new state game land, to go there and do scouting. Hunting's not just to show up and hunt sport. We have to be able to get there and do scouting. So I think what you guys are working on is just phenomenal.
And Greg,
Well, I'm not that many years behind you, Dan, but don't worry, I'll take you out if you become unable to.
There you go.
and Greg, to that point also, I mean, that retention is huge to me. My father just turned 82 back in April. Last year, he got drawn for an elk tag.
Wow.
When he was with the Game
Pennsylvania
Commission, he was one of
lottery.
the biggest supporters of that elk program. He was the regional director in the North Central. It's like a full circle, for him. But at 81 years old, with limited mobility and some health issues, getting him an elk really was a lot of work for my brothers and I and my nephews and my sister-in-law. But the last day with 2 hours to go, we got him lined up on a cow and he got her. But that was all because of that retention. Over the years, we've worked on that retention to make sure my dad, who taught me how to hunt, my hero, he was law enforcement, like myself, so that retention though is so crucial. We do a pretty good job of recruiting, not saying we shouldn't recruit more people, because the more kids we can get in, the more likely they are to stay, and the more we have, the less we lose.
Right.
But retaining them, that's another part of this whole opportunities for people that we can retain them, because we all talk about, the big hunter who hunts all the time, and is able to go a lot and do that. But most hunters aren't in that situation. Most hunters have a job, they have a family, they have a lot of other commitments. So only being able to hunt a few days doesn't make them less of a hunter. They
No.
enjoy it just as much as the guy who's able to hunt for weeks on end. And not necessarily having to take vacation all the time to go hunting. Some people don't have those options like some folks do. When I was state police, I was able to do that. I had a good job. I had a lot of leave that I could take. But some people aren't that fortunate to have those type of jobs, or they can't even use their leave whenever they want to because of seniority in positions. So all these things we're doing to try and help get more opportunities. The Sunday hunting, it gives people that work Monday through Saturday sometimes, hey, you can now go hunting. Or if you even work Monday through Friday, you only had Saturday to hunt. Well, I get up this morning here. Now granted, it's a Thursday morning, but I don't know how many times I get up on a Saturday morning and it's pouring down rain, and it's just not the optimal time to go hunting. Not that you can't, but it's not optimal. Well, now we have Sunday hunting, like you said, double people's time on the weekends.
That's a big thing. It opens up more opportunity. And one of the things we're trying to do is I've been blessed with being able to podcast with Greg for years. And it's about raising awareness in South Carolina. What we've been doing is we're blessed that we have a lifetime disability licensing where, if you've got quadriplegia, paraplegia, you can show others and do a doctor's statement. You can get a lifetime hunting and fishing license, and we're trying to get our bordering states to be able to do the same. And it's about just being able to get back outdoors. Dan brought up something. A lot of people with disabilities want to hunt every day. Unfortunately, we need help to be able to get out there. It's not asking for a handout, it's asking for a hand up. And all we're trying to do is be able to get out and be able to continue to be in that whole realm of being able to get out, work food plots, being able to set up everything we can so we can be involved in the whole picture, not just show up to hunt. We want to be able to get out there and do the conservation and being able to share a whole lifestyle. One of the biggest things about hunting is being able to spend time building relationships in deer camp, being able to talk trash. And, we're just as competitive, but a lot of times we don't have those same opportunities. So thank you both for everything that you're doing, not only for Pennsylvania, but, for just hunting across the board.
And Representative Steele, you're one of the people that we want to recruit and retain as a woman or as a young lady. A lot of times people will hunt with their families, but as they get into their 20s, 30s, and 40s, life takes over, and the ladies and women stop hunting because of other commitments. So for you to be a late in life hunter and getting your family involved, I mean, that's exactly what we need. More women like you in the outdoors, because the outdoors is for everyone. I mean, it's for the whole family. It's for the children. It's for everyone.
Yeah, that's right. I think that we need to basically just like spread the word. I mean, just me talking publicly in community forums, on social media about the benefit that I see in my own children has prompted other mothers in the community where I live to come up and say, my kids are on the baseball team and they wrestle and they're in this club and we have no time for hunting. But hearing you talk, I feel like I may be making a mistake and not creating this opportunity for them in their lives. And I say you are, quite frankly. And everybody is busy now. But as mothers, I feel it's our responsibility to push back on that somewhat and say, you know what, we need to have space for activities that are family centered, that are healthy, that are wholesome, and that's grounding. And that is what hunting is. So I have seen an incredible trend in my own neighborhood where I live, where people are exploring this as a really cool opportunity for their families. And it's just like that's why I think I can be useful to this way of life, because I'm kind of like an unlikely spokesperson for hunters, maybe, but in reality, I'm not, because there are a ton of us women out here. There are a ton of mothers who are either hunters themselves or they support this way of life for their families. And so I feel very proud to be able to give those women a voice.
That's very well said, and it's access to information that they may have been curious about what hunting was about, but didn't have access to the information. And hearing your personal story and your journey can encourage so many people to get out there with their families.
Yeah, and by the way, an important part of that message is safety. What we know from robust data over many, many years is that hunting is a very safe activity. And so
Sure.
that's myth number one that I always correct. Look at the data. We have it. We have it from Pennsylvania. We have it from South Carolina. We have it from the rest of the entire country. You can feel safe when you're in the woods with hunters, and you can feel safe as a hunter.
Absolutely.
That's a positive message we need to hit
And
often.
one of the things that go along with the Pennsylvania hunting license is access to the ranges,
Yes.
and the Game Commission is redoing so many state game land ranges and providing access for people in chairs, people with disabilities. But you can go out any day and use the range and practice, shooting your rifle, shooting your pistol. And a lot of states don't have that. People have to join, private gun clubs. But when you purchase your PA license, you're also purchasing range time.
Yeah. Yep. Very cool. The first time I shot a gun, I was so afraid because I was an adult. I didn't have any experience. And so I was with another friend of Dan and I's, Ed Sadler, out at his club. And I cried. And he was just very calm and steady. And he said, don't be afraid. And I was terrified. And I did it one shot. And the fear was gone. And I was
Got it
sold.
hooked.
And then I was just blasting those targets out of the air. I'm a good shot. I never knew it, but I am.
That's
It's
awesome.
one of those things. Dan will probably be able to coincide with some of this. Being in the Marine Corps, a lot of times our best shooters were ladies or people that didn't have bad influence. A lot of times our
Okay.
grandfathers or whoever would teach us. And as young guys, we all want to get out there and blast away and outshoot our cousins. But it's good to have a healthy fear of a firearm.
Yeah.
And a lot of times those ladies, they didn't have any of those bad influences. So when you put them on a trigger, they were out shooting everybody around them.
Okay. That's interesting, huh? I believe that.
Absolutely.
As
Yeah.
a firearms instructor for 25 years plus, one of the things that I learned over the years was people who previously had no conception about how to shoot a firearm.
Right.
When I would teach them, they were a lot easier to teach than somebody that had bad habits I had to break.
Correct.
So, yeah,
Exactly.
it's definitely doesn't surprise me that Representative Steele is a good shot because she comes into it with no preconceived notion about
Yes.
what she's supposed to do. So all she does is listen to the person instructing her.
Yeah.
Very good. And I just wanted to hit too, Hunter Nation, my group, Hunter Nation, our objective is to be a unified voice, whether it be in Pennsylvania here in Harrisburg or across the country, nationally, in Washington, D.C. We're a unified voice for the hunters of our country. Our five tenets are God, family, country, the Constitution, and our hunting heritage. That's
There you
what
go.
we believe in. That's what we're about, and continuing that hunting heritage. When I'm posting on our Facebook page or my own Facebook page, and I'm posting about Hunter Nation, one of the biggest things I always say whenever I go to Harrisburg and I talk to people like Representative Steele is I was in Harrisburg talking about our hunting heritage. We can have differences of opinion on our hunting heritage, but our heritage is what we need to get back to. And that hunting heritage consists of all those things we've talked about, that getting back to that connection with the land. I'm certain whenever I was a young boy, young man, that most people had some connection within a generation to a rural community.
Right.
I don't have the data, but I know I've read it before. Now, more people than not, generationally, are not connected to the land because they were raised in a more urban setting than I was raised in. And my family, my daughters, they're still connected to the land because I have our property. We do that whole connection to the land here. But some people don't have that opportunity. it's not their fault, but in order to get back to that is a very important concept, I think, to get people back into a settled state, unlike where we're at now with a lot of people. And it's not being mean to anybody or trying to cast
Right.
disrespect anybody, but I think that connection to the land, like Representative Steele is trying to do, with her family and with other people, is so important.
Yeah, and you know, the
Absolutely.
good thing is that it doesn't take much. I always say what I saw in my kids and I experienced myself was like the first time I was out there, an ancient part of my brain was
Kicked
awakened.
in.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right there. It's just a little bit buried, but it's real easy to uncover that and remember who we are and our place in the natural system. You know, that when we're out there as hunters, you really understand the complexity of the natural world and why we
Mhm.
need to protect it and how it has shaped us over time and how it can make us healthy and happy. And it's easy. All you got to do is take somebody out there and spend a little time in the woods or buy
Mhm.
some water and just kind of wait and watch. And darn it, if it activates pretty fast, it's neat to see.
When we slow our brains down and start paying attention to the world around us, and I mean really paying attention to the details of which way the wind's blowing, of your noise getting in and out of the blind, of your scent, all the little things that were so natural to people growing up hundreds of years ago, that we're actually having to relearn how to be outdoorsmen and women and how to be successful hunters. It's just phenomenal what you can do with your kids and with your family. And talking along those lines, I know that you've been out squirrel hunting and probably getting ready for rifle season. I know how busy you are, but are you going to be able to get out this season? And what's your hunting plans for the rest of the year?
Yeah, so I want to get into hunting big game, but I'm not there yet. And partly it's because I'm so busy. So what I really love is to go out and try and hopefully have success and then process and toss what I have in the back of my minivan and go home and have it in the pot that night. That's
There you
really fun
go.
and it's really cool for the kids too. You know, one of the other important components of all of this is that I feel like hunting really teaches you gratitude
Mhm.
in
Yes.
a way we don't have a lot of gratitude as a society right now. But when you kill an animal, it's you feel part of you feels like celebrating that victory, and part of you feels sadness or reverence
Mhm.
Yes.
over this animal, and incredible gratitude that you can then take that animal home and feed your family. And so that for kids, it's really fun to hunt small game because you can have that meat in the pot that night and you can sit down over dinner and say, "Do you remember what we did this morning? Let's talk about our gratitude for this meal that is nourishing our family." And so that's been something that I've focused on. And someday I'll maybe be as lucky as Dan's dad and get to go for an elk.
Well, well, there's nothing wrong with small game, and in fact, it's pheasant season here in PA, and I
So
I don't
funny.
know that I've had anything better than pheasants. And Pennsylvania does a great job of stocking the state game lands. And Dan, I don't know if you grew up pheasant hunting. When we were younger, there wasn't the pheasant that we have now, for sure. So I've eaten a few pheasants over my life, and that's the best small game in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. And I talk about the farm and my grandmother. That was always, first day of pheasant season. Back then, we didn't start till 9 o'clock because that was, allow the farmers to do their farm work. We'd all gather at the farmhouse and head out, and we'd end up with a mixed bag at the end of the day of squirrels, rabbits, pheasant, the occasional grouse, maybe a woodcock on the farm because we always had them a couple locations, and then back in, and we'd ever clean everything up, and Grandma would make her pie. It was a small game pie. It was in a roaster
Oh
pan,
yeah.
lined with the crust on the top and the bottom, and oh, it was so good. I still to this day remember eating that. My dad still makes it. Like there's nothing better than squirrel pot pie. That's what we always call squirrel pot pie or small game pot pie. And the pheasants were always the best. I mean, it was because they always stalked back then. They stalked all the farms that were in the access program. Things have changed how they stock and stuff like that. But we would always be out rabbit hunting. You never knew when that old rooster was going to come up in front of you. You're going to get a shot at one. It was
That's right.
just great times. Just great memories. And I hope my daughters, as they get older, have those same memories that I have, and how much hunting has meant to my family over the years and our connection together. I have 4 brothers. One brother doesn't hunt. We still make fun of him for that.
Right.
But the rest of us do. And even with the technology and the smartphones, we want to get away. But in a way, for us, it allows us to have a connection, because
Sure.
we don't necessarily all hunt together anymore. But I can guarantee you, we're still sitting in the blind, or in a tree stand, giving each other a hard time and having that fun of, hey, has anyone seen anything, or sending pictures of what we've seen, or if we were lucky to actually kill a deer or turkey, whatever it is, we're out hunting, and just a good time though. And that family connection, just still having that connection of what is important to our family, and it's that going hunting, going fishing, because we're fishermen too. Trust me, we do it all. There's no such thing as there's not something in season with my family, So
That's right.
One of the bigger things is you guys have touched on a lot of things today in just this podcast, but it's about that reconnection with who we are, where we come from, being able to put fuel to the fire. Me and Greg talk about it a lot. I go to DC a good bit, and we talk about advocacy, inclusion. All of these things take everybody's voice. Not one person can do it on their own. Thank you again, Representative Steele, for all that you do. Without lawmakers like yourself being open and receptive to what we're going through, we get nothing done. And we can't do it on our own. Coming from a standpoint of working with the VA and other groups, we have a lot of plight that we want to get done, but it's finding that common ground where we can all sit and talk about it. But it gives us that grounding point again where we're not that different. It doesn't really take a whole lot if you spend time just getting to know your neighbor, getting to know where your food sources come from. Then it opens up a whole nother avenue of what else can we do to advocate for our brothers and sisters.
That's right. That's right. It's a real community that comes from this way of life.
It is.
And I'll tell you what, the advocates in this space are the best ones that I have met in my career in politics, because we need politicians. Listen, we've got to have knowledge across so many areas. We are dependent upon advocates to help us make informed decisions. And if you've got a good politician, it's someone who will listen to the experts.
Right.
And that is something I pride myself on doing. And really, the people that I've met through this work, the advocates in Pennsylvania and from across the country, like Dan, are just outstanding. They're high quality, ethical people who are committed to this way of life because it's an important one, and really kind of shine in this space. And I want to give a shout out to our governor here, Governor Shapiro in Pennsylvania. Like me, he did not grow up in a hunting family. But when we started having conversations about this, he understood almost immediately that this was something that he was not familiar with, but he understood the value here, the incredible worthy cause that we were pursuing here and supporting this way of life. He got on board so fast. And once we got the bill out of the House over to the Senate and they signed off on it, he signed that bill almost as soon as it hit his desk. And that was amazing to see. And you know what? He's all over social media now talking about how proud he was to sign that bill into law. It's really, really cool.
We were really fortunate and blessed with lawmakers like yourself and everyone else that came together, the hunting community that made this happen. And, we're not we're not changing things because that's the way it's always been done. You folks have really opened up hunting to a whole new population, changing the start date from Monday opener to Saturday opener. Again, I think it gets more people out in the woods. I think it provides more opportunity for people that work every day or go to school. So Pennsylvania is making some big changes in the last year. And I really I'm so appreciative of what you both have done and everyone that you've worked with. And we know that you guys are busy, and we appreciate you coming on the podcast. And we'd like to give you both the last word on where you think hunting is going in Pennsylvania. And again, we appreciate you coming on.
Dan, do you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you, Greg. Pennsylvania, the Game Commission is, as Representative Steele pointed out earlier, top notch. They're doing a great job. The work that my group does, other groups do, couldn't be prouder of the people in these other organizations. We're all working for the same common goal. That's how we ended up getting Sunday hunting really moving. Was we pulled together as a coalition, sometimes an unlikely coalition. When we pulled in the Pennsylvania Farm Bureau, who have been against Sunday hunting, all of a sudden they were joining us because they understood the value of it. Other hunting groups, we all pulled together. And as I said during the bill signing, I was fortunate enough from Representative Steele in the governor's office to be invited as the only NGO to speak. So I tried to cover everybody else that was there and involved in our coalition. But as I said in that, it was echoing from the governor's Facebook page. In Pennsylvania, we still know how to roll up our sleeves, work together, and get things done that are important. There's times where we're going to have differences and things aren't going to happen as quickly as we want them to. But as a whole, Pennsylvanians have historically worked together to get things done. That's why, whether it be Republicans or Democrats, once we started putting this information out and talking to all of our politicians and all the other groups, everybody understood how valuable this was. So again, we're just continuing to do that work. And it's great to have people like Representative Mandy Steele and the other legislators who just want to listen. And that's all we can ask for, is people listening and taking into account everybody's point of view. Once we did that, again, the governor, it was great. I had a great conversation with the man about hunting. It was obvious he had never hunted, and he was so interested in hunting.
Awesome.
And what goes on with it. So again, I'd like to thank all those people. And again, Hunter Nation, all the other organizations in Pennsylvania that are working to make hunting better, the Game Commission, the legislators, couldn't ask for better people to be supporting hunters and our hunting heritage that we have in Pennsylvania right now.
That's awesome, Dan. Very well said.
That's so well said, Dan. Thank you. And I appreciate you really hitting hard that message that all kinds of different people came together on this. And we've got to stay focused on that to keep our country strong and on the right path. That is what Americans do. We need to come together wherever we can. I just want to say thank you to you two, because you're doing good work, and I really admire you for doing it. And Mike, I hope to see you in Pennsylvania sometime. Greg, come and see me anytime in Harrisburg. You guys are awesome. I admire your spirit, advocating for people, and I'm with you 100%. If there's anything I can do for you, please just say the word.
Thank you both for coming on and for all you do. I've been up in your state. Greg knows. Dan, it's a funny situation. I came up and killed one of the biggest deer I've ever harvested in my life in PA. And on the last day, they were kind of doing a drive. And Dan, I almost I don't want to say walked backwards into an elk, but they had some elk come running out. Guy from South Carolina, elk's on my bucket list. And when they came off, I threw my safety off. And the guy that was with me is, don't shoot the elk. You don't have a tag. And I was thinking, I haven't seen anything that big. This elk is fixing to roll. But he talked me out of it. So cooler heads prevailed in that situation.
Yeah, there's something to see going through the wild. I remember forget the first time I was on an elk hunt with a sister-in-law who had gotten drawn, and I was in a tree stand archery hunting, and I had elk passing by, and I'm like, whoa, look at those things.
No.
And just to give a little shout out to the Elk Center up in the northern tier, it's fully accessible. My wife and I went up 2 years ago and spent Halloween. We got to see the elk in person. Just a great little town, little community, and so educational. And we're definitely fortunate to live in Pennsylvania, that's for sure. But guys, thank you so much for coming on, taking time out of your day. We so appreciate everything you've done for us and for sportsmen. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thanks, guys. This was fun.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.